Good morning, everyone. It is Scott from certmedia.com, and in this video, I'm showing you a bit of a newer plugin that I stumbled across just looking through WordPress.org, and it's called the Image SEO Optimizer plugin. So the general gist of this plugin is you upload an image, and you've probably done the image SEO wrong. Typically, what that means is you haven't included alt text, which is arguably the most important, and you haven't given it a useful name. This plugin tries to solve both of those issues. The issue with this plugin is it's premium, and it doesn't look like it compresses your images in any way, which makes me really wonder of its overall effectiveness. And I'm running on the free plan just to give it a test. So as you can see, you install it, you're gonna have to paste in your API key, and you get a bunch of interesting stuff here. You get your general overview that says you have 23 images in your media library, and absolutely none of them have alt text because I am terrible at doing that. And then it also allows you to do on upload optimization. This is where the service goes ahead, and when you upload your image, it goes ahead and it optimizes it. It will go ahead and rename your file. It will rewrite it with SEO friendly content in the name of the image file, and we'll add the alt text. Basically, it uploads the image, it uses some sort of image algorithm, it determines the content of the image, and it automatically renames it. So this is an interesting plugin, but I had to think of an interesting way to test it. I didn't want to give some predetermined images that they have on their website. So we're just going to go over to pexels.com. It's a free stock photo website. And I'm just going to grab really a type of city. So I want a city landscape to test this in to see what it will do. Something that's preferably pretty image rich, but also has people. So this looks like New York City. We're going to go ahead and download it. I'm not going to be renaming it. I'm going to leave it at whatever it says. Actually, no. We're going to rename it on download. All right, random name, ASDSA. Now we're going to upload this image to WordPress, and we're going to see what happens. What I hope will happen is it will try to extract and find the alt attribute and give me something that's legible and useful, and that the image name gets optimized. So we could click and get our view image SEO report, and it says file name by image SEO. It doesn't look like it managed to generate it. List of keywords representative of the context in which Google analyzed your images. So right now it's breaking down essentially what the content is of the page. It says 72% of the image is of the road, and frankly, I agree with that. And it did give it a alt text of street-city. That also looks really good. You could choose to give it a Pinterest description, which will, after the image source of the image, it'll add data pin description. This is for Pinterest and rich pins. It doesn't automatically fill out a caption or description, and it doesn't look like it gave it a unique name, which I'm a little disappointed in. I'm a little bit confused even as to why it didn't give me any sort of image name. Automatically rename your files when you upload new media. The plugin will automatically rewrite with the SEO friendly content of the name of the images you upload. So it doesn't look like it worked with that one for that bit of functionality. So we're just going to go and grab one of a car. I would be really impressed if it identified what car it was, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. Here, we'll call this car, we'll just call this example 2. Maybe all the random characters threw it off. I highly doubt it. We're going to upload it. Same way we did, media, add new. And we're going to upload it. Now, I'm not going to be adding any alt text on here by myself. So we're just going to see what it generates as the alt text. The general gist of this plugin is it's meant to help you save time on image optimization, because I'm willing to bet most of us here don't bother adding the alt attributes. And the overall effectiveness of image search in general can be questioned That's actually correct. That is correct. That's exactly what this is. It is a Range Rover Evoque. I don't know if that's 2013 or not, but it definitely is accurate in terms of that. And it did match 100% with the data that I expected it to. The one thing that I am disappointed about, though, is once again, it seems like it's not doing the renaming process, which I'm honestly a little bit confused about. So rewrite your image names and missing tags, and just make sure we cross off all that nonsense. So let's see if we can check their documentation to determine why our media name is not being added. You could just go ahead and update all of your image URLs yourself using a media replace button, but it isn't very effective. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to go to the library as it mentions. We're going to look at our list view as it mentions, and we're going to just double check to see if it added any different URL. I've got a feeling that's going to be a no, but if it is, I'll be super impressed because it did completely identify the content of the images. Here we go. So it did identify under media, it went to media images 2013 Land Rover Evoque.jpg. That's really good, guys. That is really solid image identification. Again, I can't speak onto the model year of the vehicle. I'd have to check the source, but if it's true, that's really impressive. It not only managed to identify what car this was, it managed to find the make and the model and the year, it automatically renamed it, and then it automatically generated the ideal alt text. Let's just test a few more random cars just to see what we can come up with. Oh, here's one. I'll grab one from my own website. And we're going to steal this image. All right. I'm a little bit confused as to why their image URL is not mentioned anywhere in the actual edit attachment screen, but it does seem to work and it does spit out the correct URL, which I find ideal. One thing that I do think that this plugin needs to add is some sort of image compression tool. Right now, the value isn't really there in terms of what you're getting. Let's see. Sport utility vehicle from Hyundai Motor Company. While that is technically accurate, it is an SUV, it is a Hyundai Palisade, and it is the 2020 model year. It seems like it didn't manage to determine what model this vehicle was, but at least it did add an appropriate name when it was originally. Now, an interesting bit of detail is when you upload the image, you're just getting, it looks at least by default, and the file name by Image SEO isn't showing up anywhere, which I'm super confused about. And when you click it, I'm just being taken to media/images. So there definitely seems to be some bugs in the way that this functionality works. And we'll manually update it, I guess, because it doesn't look like this rename file automatically bit actually works. And all it did was on upload, move it elsewhere. The problem with it renaming it and putting it in its own subfolder is because it does do that, you're going to be consuming a lot more space. It also begs the question of what will happen with smaller sizes. So let's see what kind of default sizes I have it set to generate. And we're going to try and go to the 300 by 300 version of this image. Let's go to the 150 by 150 version. And we're going to see if it works. I kind of doubt it. No, it doesn't look like it's going to work. But I'm willing to bet if I go to this image right here, oh, sure enough, it kind of worked. That is definitely not a 150 by 150 thumbnail, though. Not even close. And an easy way to test that is you could view the source, or you could just slap on the WordPress.com image CDN and it spits it out in the title for you. So I'm not that impressed at the moment. Unable to load the image. It doesn't treat this as a valid image source. They probably have a rewrite rule in place that's taking the image. I'm conflicted. First of all, the plugin doesn't offer enough value to justify the cost of it. It's fairly expensive, at least in comparison to standard image optimization. At $4.99 a month, it'll do 100 images. That's not a lot. For comparison, if you go to just a straight up image compression plugin like ShortPixel, for, let's just see what the closest plan would be pricing wise. $4.99 gets you 5,000 images to be compressed. This is not a very good deal. Not even a little. And if you're trying to go through a backlog of images, you're going to struggle. And I have some serious questions about why it just sticks the image in a subfolder instead of actually renaming the file. But the image identification itself is actually quite impressive. It does seem to work as I expected. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go to Google image search, and we're just going to do one final test. And I want to run that same image, the fishish image, and I want to see what it determines this image is. Okay, so Google did identify it correctly as a Hyundai Palisade calligraphy. That is correct. So it does seem like they have their own image sort of optimization AI thing in the background going on. Outside of the just image identification, it has some other niche tools. You could go ahead and I want to fill out the alt text. I want to optimize the images for SEO. This is the image name SEO. This is for the bulk optimization setting. This will handle all existing images. For your alt text, you can modify how the alt text is generated. So it can do keyword 1 - keyword 2, or you could just use whatever it defaults to. And you can validate the results manually. If you tick this box, you have the possibility to validate our alt text and name suggestions. And then finally, there's the social card optimizer, which goes back to what I was mentioning in regards to the Pinterest sharing in particular. But it does allow you to get, so for instance, it'll show the stars linked to a review of your product, for example. Very interesting data. So right here, you get your preview. It's fine. My problem with this plugin so far is I don't think it offers enough inherent value because of the overall effectiveness of Google image search for your website. You should totally be adding alt text, mostly because it's helpful to screen readers, and it probably does play at least a somewhat minor part in your on-page SEO scheme. But ultimately, images just don't provide that much value in Google image search in terms of traffic anymore. Most of the time somebody goes, they grab the image, they copy the image, and they re-upload it to Reddit or Twitter or wherever they're grabbing it from. So really, the images are just there so that way somebody has something pretty to look at, and so that way the pictures, the article's more engaging to click on. It's in Facebook. I'm not so much as troubled by any of the functionality I've seen. The URL worked. It seems to just slap a completely different image that you can then grab. I'm so confused on that bit. So I don't understand why it isn't renaming the inherent file that I uploaded, because it's just going to make it more work. It's just more and more work to actually deal with, especially if there's no reference to that image anywhere. Maybe they added it in the canonical tags as a rel canonical. No. So that does have me concerned as well, and those were brand new images. We'll go ahead and we'll try it with some of the other random ones, just so that way we use up the credits. We gotta wait for it to go and fetch and generate the alt automatically. I wouldn't recommend this plugin though. Fundamentally, what you're running into is just not enough value for the user. Most people, that's right. That's kind of right. I mean, yes, WordPress is the giant element of the page, so I will give it that. I'm just not impressed with this plugin as it is. If you have a question about it, please feel free to ask in the comments below. To the devs, my biggest thing is I would add image compression, because right now the cost benefit just isn't there for the average user, especially on a website that has a lot of existing images that they didn't bother to optimize themselves. And I don't think that just slapping the URL to be renamed under its own folder is an appropriate solution, because all that happens then is they just become fragmented. While that was probably done for I'm not really even sure why it was done. I don't know why that was the logical choice, was just to segment your uploaded images into a separate folder. But it doesn't look like it supports thumbnails, which makes it pretty useless with most themes, and the URL doesn't appear in the attachment screen, at least for me. But like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.